Commander stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the main screen. Behind her, 200 ships carried 10 billion humans to their new home in the 442 system. This was the largest group of people to ever leave Earth. Families, scientists, workers, and dreamers all traveled together to build a better life among the stars. Felt proud as she looked at the fleet. Each ship was a city in space. Children played in the corridors while their parents worked. Old people shared stories with young ones. Everyone was excited about their new world. The New Horizon was the biggest ship in the fleet. It carried the leaders and the most important equipment, had been chosen to speak for all humans when they met new alien life. She practiced her words every day, hopping to make friends with whoever they might find. 3 days into their journey to the new planet, the ship's sensors found something strange. Large metal objects were moving toward them from deep space. The objects were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. They moved in perfect formation like a military parade. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission," said Officer Martinez from his station. His voice sounded worried. Nodded, put it on the main screen. The stars disappeared. In their place appeared a creature that made everyone on the bridge step back. It looked like it was made of living crystal. Its body was tall and thin, with sharp edges that caught the light. Its eyes were like blue fire, cold and empty of any kindness. When it spoke, its voice sounded like breaking glass. "I am Supreme Admiral of the Hegemony of. You are in our space without permission. You will explain yourselves." Took a deep breath and stepped forward. She had trained for this moment her whole life. "I am Commander representing the human species from Earth. We come in peace. We wish to settle in this empty system and live quietly. We mean no harm to you or your people." Listened without moving. His crystal face showed no emotion. Around him, other crystal beings stood like statues. Behind them, could see a massive ship that stretched beyond the edges of the screen. "Peace," said slowly, as if the word tasted bad. "You speak of peace while bringing weapons into our territory." Felt confused. "Our ships carry only basic defense systems. We have no weapons that could threaten you. Look at our scans if you wish. We are families seeking a home, nothing more." The alien admiral made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sent chills down spine. "All species speak of peace when they first meet us. Then they learn the truth. The galaxy belongs to the strong. The weak serve or die." "We don't want to fight," said quickly. "Please let us explain our intentions. We have art, music, stories to share. We could learn from each other." Raised one crystal hand. The gesture looked casual but knew something terrible was about to happen. "The galaxy will learn today. No species enters hegemony space without consequence. Your deaths will teach others respect." Felt her blood turn to ice. "Wait, we have children on these ships, innocent people who have done nothing wrong." "Innocence is weakness," replied. "Weakness must be removed from the galaxy." The transmission stayed open as turned to his crew. Watched in horror as the alien ships moved to surround the human fleet. She quickly ordered all ships to prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace, but it was too late. Strange energy beams shot out from the alien vessels and struck each human ship. The beams didn't destroy the ships. Instead, they seemed to lock onto them, making it impossible for any ship to escape. Realized with growing terror that the aliens wanted to take their time. "All ships, this is Commander," she broadcast to the fleet. "Prepare for battle. Protect the civilian ships at all costs." But knew they had no chance. The alien ships were too big, too advanced, too powerful. The human fleet was made for exploration and settlement, not war. What happened next would be burned into the memory of every human alive. The aliens began their attack slowly, carefully. They disabled one ship at a time, making sure it couldn't fight back or escape. Then they would destroy it completely with massive energy weapons that turned the ship into bright dust in seconds. Watched helplessly as the transport ship Bright Future was hit first. 3,000 families died in an instant. Then the science vessel Discovery vanished in a ball of fire. The cargo ship New Texas was next. Each death was broadcast live across the galaxy, made sure that every species in hegemony space could see what happened to those who entered their territory without permission. On Earth, 8 billion people watched their friends and family die. The transmission reached every television, every computer, every communication device on the planet. Children saw their parents disappear. Parents watched their children turn to dust. Husbands and wives said goodbye forever across the vast distance of space. Tried everything she could think of. She begged for mercy. She offered to surrender. She promised that humans would never return to this space. Nothing worked. Destroyed ship after ship with the patience of someone crushing insects. Hours passed. The beautiful fleet that had left Earth became a field of wreckage and death. Crew worked frantically to save who they could, but the alien weapons were too powerful. Every human weapon they fired was either ignored or easily blocked. As the New Horizon became one of the last ships left, stood on her bridge and looked at the camera that was broadcasting to Earth. Her face was dirty and bloody, but her eyes were filled with a fire that would not die. To everyone on Earth watching this, she said clearly, remember what you see here today. Remember that we tried to be peaceful. Remember that they chose this. Remember us and make them pay. The screen filled with white light as the New Horizon died. In the silence that followed, Supreme Admiral appeared on the transmission one last time. Let this be a lesson to all species. The hegemony of rules this galaxy. Those who forget this fact will join these humans in death. The transmission ended. In space, where 10 billion humans had lived and dreamed just hours before, only wreckage and silence remained. On Earth, 8 billion people sat in shocked silence. Then slowly they began to stand up. In every city, every town, every home, the same thought formed in 8 billion minds. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought killing 10 billion humans would make Earth afraid. They were wrong. 3 months had passed since the massacre. Earth had gone completely quiet. Dr. Sarah stood in the emergency meeting room deep beneath the Swiss mountains. Around her sat the leaders of every nation on Earth. Former enemies now worked side by side. The American president sat next to the Chinese premier. The Russian leader shared notes with the European Union Council. War generals from India and Pakistan planned together. The room was silent except for the soft hum of computers. Everyone wore black armbands for the dead. Everyone had lost someone in the fleet. Report, Doctor said simply. She had been the UN Secretary General before the attack. Now she led the United Earth War Council. Every human government had dissolved itself to join this single purpose. General Stone stood up. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars from old Earth wars. Before the attack, he had been retired, tending his garden. Now he commanded every military force on the planet. All external communications have been cut, Stone reported. No signals leave Earth. No trade ships approach our system. As far as the galaxy knows, we have gone silent with grief. Doctor nodded. What about our deep space telescopes? All pointed toward hegemony space, answered Doctor, Earth's best physicist. We have been studying their technology from the wreckage pieces that drifted into our system. Every fragment tells us more about how their weapons work. In the corner, a young woman named Lisa Park typed rapidly on multiple computers. She had been a game designer before the attack. Her brother died on the science ship Discovery. Now she used her skills to break alien computer codes. I've found their communication patterns, Lisa said without looking up. They talk to 47 different worlds. Each world has a different species, but they all bow to this hegemony. I think they conquered all of them. Doctor walked to the large map on the wall. It showed the galaxy with red dots marking hegemony worlds. So many red dots. How many species did they kill to build their empire? She asked quietly. "We estimate several hundred," answered Professor James Wright, the historian. "They seem to follow a pattern. Find a species, demand surrender, then kill them if they resist. If they surrender, they become slaves." General Stone clenched his fists. They made one mistake. They chose to broadcast the murder of 10 billion humans. They wanted to scare us. "Instead, they united us," Doctor finished. She turned to address the room. "Every human on Earth now shares the same goal. Every scientist works on the same project. Every factory builds the same things. Every child studies the same subjects." Doctor stepped forward with a tablet full of complex equations. "We have made progress on understanding their technology, but we need more time. Their ships use energy sources we barely understand. Their weapons ignore normal physics." "How much time?" asked Doctor. "At least 1 year, maybe 2. But," Doctor paused, looking excited and frightened at the same time, "I think we can do better than copy their technology. I think we can build something they have never seen before." The room grew quiet. Everyone leaned forward. "Explain," Doctor ordered. Doctor activated a hologram showing complex mathematical formulas. "They use normal space weapons, energy beams, missiles, force fields. But what if we attack from a place they cannot defend? What if we attack from inside their ships?" Lisa Park looked up from her computers. "Inside, how?" "Quantum mechanics," Doctor explained. "On Earth, we have studied how particles can exist in 2 places at once, how they can tunnel through barriers that should stop them. The aliens seem to have never developed this science." General Stone frowned. "You want to build weapons that can appear inside enemy ships?" "More than that," Doctor said, his voice growing excited. "Weapons that can appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly. Weapons that ignore distance, ignore shields, ignore everything except the target we choose." Doctor felt a chill run down her spine. Is such a thing possible? "The math says yes. The engineering will be incredibly difficult, but humans have always been good at doing impossible things when we are angry enough." The room fell silent as everyone thought about this. Finally, General Stone spoke. "What would you need?" Doctor handed him a list. "Every physicist on Earth, every mathematician, every computer scientist, and we need to build the largest construction project in human history." Doctor took the list and read it. The numbers were staggering. They would need to turn the entire planet into a research and construction facility. "Everyone will have to help," she said. "Artists will become engineers. Teachers will become scientists. Children will learn advanced physics alongside basic math." "Are we ready for that?" asked the president of Brazil. Doctor thought about Commander's final words. She thought about 10 billion dead humans. She thought about alien species that killed for entertainment. "The aliens taught us something important," she said. "They taught us that mercy is weakness. They taught us that peace is meaningless to those who choose war. They taught us that some enemies can only be stopped by complete destruction." She walked to the window that looked out on the secret construction facility already being built. Thousands of workers moved like ants, building humanity's future in the darkness underground. "We will not make their mistake," Doctor continued. "We will not show mercy to those who show none. We will not seek peace with those who choose murder, and we will not stop until every single one of them is dead." General Stone stood up. "What do we call this project?" Doctor turned back to the room. "Operation Alien Extinct." Meanwhile, in deep space, hegemony patrol ships noticed that Earth had gone completely silent. No radio signals, no space traffic, no response to their scanning beams. Supreme Admiral studied the reports from his command ship. Other species had reacted to his demonstrations of power in different ways. Some had begged for mercy. Some had tried to fight back immediately and been crushed. Some had surrendered and become slaves. None had ever gone completely silent. Perhaps they killed themselves from grief, suggested one of his officers. Was not so sure. There had been something in that human female's eyes during her final transmission, something he had not seen in other species. It was not fear, it was not despair, it was something else entirely. For the first time in his long career of conquest, Supreme Admiral felt the smallest touch of unease. He pushed the feeling aside. Humans were just another weak species in a galaxy full of them. Soon they would be forgotten like all the others. But deep in his crystal heart, the unease remained. 1 year after the massacre, Doctor stood before a machine that should not exist. The dimensional cascade generator filled a cavern the size of a football stadium, carved deep into the Rocky Mountains. Thousands of people had worked for 12 months to build it. The machine hummed with power that came from fusion reactors buried even deeper in the Earth. "Final test beginning," announced into his headset. Around him, hundreds of scientists watched screens full of numbers and graphs. Every person in the cavern had lost someone in the fleet. Every person worked 18 hours a day to build humanity's revenge. Dr. Sarah stood on the observation platform above the machine. She looked older now, with gray streaks in her black hair. The weight of leading 8 billion angry humans had aged her quickly. "Target selected," called out Lisa Park from her control station. She had become the world's expert on quantum targeting systems. "Empty asteroid, coordinates locked." The asteroid was 3 light-years away, in an empty system where no one would see the test. "Initiating quantum tunnel," Doctor said. The machine began to glow. Energy patterns that hurt to look at swirled around the central chamber. Reality seemed to bend and twist as the device reached into higher dimensions that humans had only dreamed about before. "Torpedo away," announced the weapons officer. On the main screen, the asteroid appeared as a small gray rock floating in darkness. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a flash of light appeared inside the asteroid itself. The rock cracked apart from the inside, splitting into 1,000 pieces. The cavern erupted in cheers. Scientists hugged each other. Technicians threw their helmets in the air. Doctor allowed herself a small smile. The quantum torpedo had traveled 3 light-years in less than a second. It had appeared inside the target, ignoring distance and space itself. The weapon worked. "How large a target can we hit?" asked General Stone over the communication system. Doctor checked his calculations. "Anything up to the size of a planet. The larger the target, the more torpedoes we need, but the principle is the same." Doctor activated her microphone to address the entire facility. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2 immediately." Phase 2 was darker, much darker. Doctor had been a medical researcher before the attack. Her daughter had died on the colony ship New Hope. Now she studied alien biology from the tissue samples found in the wreckage. "The genetic analysis is complete," she reported to the War Council 3 days later. "Each hegemony species has unique DNA markers. We can target them specifically." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. "You're saying we can build weapons that only kill certain species?" asked Doctor. "More than that," Doctor replied. "We can build weapons that cascade through genetic similarities. One torpedo could kill every member of a species, anywhere in the galaxy, by targeting their shared genetic code." General Stone leaned forward. "Are you certain?" "I have tested it on tissue samples. The quantum cascade effect follows genetic patterns. It would be complete." Doctor felt sick and relieved at the same time. This was the power to commit genocide on an unimaginable scale. It was also the power to make sure no alien species ever threatened humanity again. "We need to discuss this," she said finally. The debate lasted 72 hours. Religious leaders argued that genocide was wrong, no matter who the victims were. Philosophers warned that such power would change humanity forever. Scientists worried about the long-term effects of quantum weapons. But families of the dead had a different opinion. Maria Santos had lost her husband and 3 children in the fleet. She stood before the council with tears in her eyes. "They killed my bobbies," she said simply. "They burned my husband alive while laughing. They chose to make us enemies. I choose to finish what they started." 10,000 similar testimonies followed. Parents who lost children, children who lost parents, husbands and wives who watched their loved ones die for entertainment. On the 3rd day, the vote was taken. Every nation on Earth was asked the same question: should humanity build weapons capable of destroying entire species? The answer came back the same from every country, every city, every town. Yes. "The hegemony taught us that mercy is weakness," Doctor announced to the world. "They chose to murder 10 billion innocents for fun. They broadcast our pain across the galaxy as entertainment. They made their choice. Now we make ours." Work began immediately on the mass production of quantum torpedoes. Each weapon was the size of a car and contained exotic matter that took weeks to create. But humanity had turned every factory on Earth into a quantum weapons facility. The moon became the next target for construction. Using massive machines, humans began carving the lunar surface into a giant transmission array. The moon's gravity would stabilize the quantum tunneling effect across galactic distances. General Stone oversaw the final phase of the project. Intelligence teams had identified the home worlds of all 47 hegemony species. They knew where the military bases were located. They knew where the leaders lived. They knew where the largest populations could be found. "How many torpedoes will we need?" asked Doctor. "For complete success, 50,000, Stone replied. "We will hit every major world, every military installation, every population center, and every space station simultaneously." Doctor looked at the star map showing all the targets. So many worlds, so many billions of aliens who had never even heard of humans. "Do any of these species deserve to live?" she asked quietly. Doctor had been studying hegemony history from captured computer files. According to their own records, every single species in their empire was conquered through genocide. They killed the weak and enslaved the survivors. None of them are innocent. "They chose to be part of a system that murders entire civilizations," added Lisa Park. "They watched our fleet die and did nothing to stop it." Doctor made her decision. "We launch in 6 months. Every weapon, every target all at once. When we are finished, the hegemony will be nothing but empty worlds and silent space." She turned to address the room one final time. "Commander told us to make them pay. We will make them pay with their existence." In space, hegemony patrol ships continued to watch the silent Earth. Their sensors could not penetrate the defensive shields humanity had built. They had no idea what was being constructed in the darkness below. Supreme Admiral had grown more worried as the months passed. Other species had never stayed silent this long after a demonstration. They either surrendered quickly or tried to fight and were destroyed. The humans were doing neither. "Should we attack their home world?" asked one of his officers. "Considered this. Not yet. Let them grieve a while longer. When they finally try to surrender, their desperation will make the victory." He had no idea that humanity had moved far beyond grief. They had moved into something much more dangerous. They had moved into calculation. 18 months after the massacre, humanity was ready. Dr. Sarah stood in the command center buried 5 miles beneath the Earth's surface. Around her, 10,000 technicians sat at control stations monitoring the most complex military operation in galactic history. The walls displayed star maps showing 47 alien worlds, each marked with red targeting symbols. "All stations report ready," announced General Stone from the tactical center. Doctor looked at the clock counting down the final minutes. In her hand, she held the single key that would begin Operation Alien Extinct. One turn of that key would start the genocide of 47 species. "Open communication channel to Supreme Admiral," she ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the crystal alien who had murdered 10 billion humans. He was on his command ship above his species' home world. Behind him could see other alien commanders from different species, all part of the hegemony leadership. Looked surprised to finally receive a transmission from Earth. "So, the humans finally wish to surrender. Your grief has lasted long enough. I will accept your submission now." Doctor smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I'm not calling to surrender, Admiral. I'm calling to deliver a message." She pressed a button, and Commander appeared on screen. It was her final transmission from 18 months ago, her voice clear and strong despite the flames surrounding her ship. "Remember what you see here today. Remember that we tried to be peaceful. Remember that they chose this. Remember us and make them pay." The recording ended. Doctor looked directly into the camera, her voice calm and cold. "We remembered, Commander. Message delivered." Began to laugh, the sound like breaking crystal. "You think one human ship's final words frighten the hegemony? We have conquered 10,000 worlds. We have destroyed hundreds of species. Your pathetic planet cannot threaten us." "You're right," Doctor replied. "One planet cannot threaten an empire that spans the galaxy. But you taught us something important, Admiral. You taught us that mercy is weakness. You taught us that some enemies cannot be reasoned with. You taught us that the only way to deal with genocidal monsters is complete extermination." She held up the key, making sure could see it clearly. "This key will start a process you cannot stop, cannot defend against, and cannot survive. In the next 10 minutes, every single member of every single hegemony species will die. Not just your military, not just your leaders, everyone. Every man, woman, and child of your 47 species will cease to exist." Stopped laughing. "Impossible, no species has such power." "No species has ever been angry enough to develop such power," Doctor corrected. "But you made us angry enough. You killed 10 billion of our people for entertainment. Now we return the favor by a factor of 10,000. She turned the key. Across the galaxy, 50,000 quantum torpedoes began their journey through higher dimensions. Each weapon carried enough exotic matter to destabilize a planet's core. Each weapon was targeted at a specific location on a specific world. The weapons ignored distance. They ignored shields. They ignored armor. They ignored time itself, arriving at their targets in the same instant they were fired. Supreme Admiral watched his command screen light up with emergency signals. "Report," he screamed at his communications officer. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from every world in the hegemony. Prime, Central, the vegan colonies, all of them. They report explosions appearing inside their planetary cores." On the screen, Doctor watched face change from anger to confusion to fear. "Those explosions are quantum torpedoes," she explained calmly. "They appear inside your planets and detonate exotic matter that breaks apart the atomic structure of everything around them. Your worlds are dying from the inside out." Ship shook as explosions appeared throughout its hull. Emergency lights flashed as sections began to decompress. "But that's not the worst part," Doctor continued. "Each torpedo carries a genetic cascade virus. It reads the DNA of the first aliens it kills, then seeks out everyone with similar genetic patterns. It spreads faster than light through quantum entanglement. Within minutes, it will find every member of your species, no matter where they hide." On Prime below, could see the crystal spires of his home cities beginning to crack and fall. His people were dying by the millions as the cascade effect spread through their genetic code. "You're committing genocide," whispered. "Yes," Doctor replied without emotion. "Just like you did to us, just like you did to hundreds of other species. The difference is we're better at it than you are." More explosions rocked ship. His crew was beginning to collapse as the genetic virus reached them. Their crystal bodies were turning dull and gray as their life force drained away. "Please," begged, "we can surrender. We can serve you as we made others serve us." Doctor shook her head. "You had the chance to accept our peaceful intentions. You chose war. You chose to make us your enemy. Now you get to learn why that was the worst mistake in galactic history." Across the galaxy, the hegemony was dying. On Central, the reptilian beings who had served as hegemony soldiers fell in their barracks and command centers. On the vegan colonies, the insect-like species who managed hegemony food production dropped dead in their hives. Space stations full of aliens simply went dark as their crews succumbed to the genetic cascade. Warships drifted powerless as their officers collapsed at their posts. Transport vessels carrying millions of civilians became floating tombs. The cascade effect was perfect and complete. It found every alien with hegemony DNA and shut down their nervous systems simultaneously. There was no pain, no suffering. They simply stopped existing. Supreme Admiral felt the virus reaching his own genetic code. His crystal limbs were becoming heavy and cold. His vision was fading as his body began to shut down. "The galaxy will remember this," he gasped with his final breath. "They will know what humans are capable of. They will fear you." Doctor leaned closer to the camera. "Good. Let them fear us. Let them know that humanity protects itself. Let them know that we do not forgive. And let them know that anyone who murders our people will join you in extinction." His eyes went dark. His body fell forward onto his command console as the last of his species died with him. On the tactical display, red lights began turning green across the galaxy. Each light represented a successful target elimination: 47 home worlds, thousands of military bases, hundreds of space stations, all going dark within minutes of each other. General Stone reported from his station, "All targets eliminated. No hegemony life signs detected on any sensor sweep. Operation Alien Extinct is complete." The command center erupted in cheers, but Doctor felt no joy. They had just committed genocide on a scale never before seen in galactic history. The hegemony of, which had ruled 10,000 worlds for over 1,000,000 years, had been erased from existence in less than an hour. "Signal all human forces," she ordered. "Begin Phase 2. We secure hegemony territory before other species try to claim it." She looked one last time at the star map, now showing empty green dots where once there had been thriving alien civilizations. "Commander," she whispered, "we kept our promise, they paid." 6 months after the extinction of the hegemony, Dr. Sarah stood on the bridge of the New Horizon II. The ship was built from salvaged hegemony technology, but with human improvements that made it far more powerful than the original. Through the main window she could see Prime below. Once it had been the capital of a galactic empire. Now it was empty and silent, its crystal cities dark and abandoned. The planet was intact, but its people were gone forever. "Incoming transmission," announced Captain Torres, a young woman who had been a cadet when the First Fleet died. "Multiple species requesting an audience." Doctor nodded. "Put them through." The main screen divided into dozens of sections, each showing a different alien species. Some looked like insects. Others were made of gas or energy. A few resembled Earth animals but walked upright and wore clothes. All of them looked terrified. The first to speak was a creature that looked like a large blue elephant. "Great humans of Earth, I am ambassador of the Republic. We beg for your mercy and wisdom." "We offer tribute," added a snake-like being with 6 arms. "Our entire fleet surrenders to your command." "Please do not kill us," whispered a small gray creature with huge black eyes. "We never supported the hegemony. They conquered us 3,000 years ago." Doctor held up her hand, and the aliens fell silent. Their fear was so strong she could almost taste it through the screen. My name is Dr. Sarah, leader of the United Earth government. I am here to explain the new rules of this galaxy." She activated a hologram showing the entire galaxy. The former hegemony territory was marked in blue, while other species territories showed in different colors. "The hegemony is gone," Doctor began. 47 species that chose genocide and slavery have been removed from existence. Their worlds are now under human protection. She paused, letting that sink in. Several aliens made worried noises. "However," she continued, "humanity does not seek to conquer or enslave. We seek to prevent another hegemony from rising. Therefore, I announce the human protocols, which will govern all interactions between Earth and other galactic species." The hologram changed to show a list of rules in dozens of languages. Protocol 1. Any species that commits genocide will face complete extinction. No exceptions, no negotiations, no mercy. The blue elephant alien raised a tentacle. What defines genocide, great humans? The deliberate killing of an entire species or the attempted killing of 1 billion or more innocent civilians, Doctor replied. We have quantum weapons watching every star system in the galaxy. We will know within minutes if any species begins mass murder. Protocol 2 appeared on the screen. Any species that attacks human civilians will lose there immediately. Any species that threatens Earth will be completely eliminated. A bird-like creature with bright feathers spoke up nervously. What if there is an accident? What if one of our ships accidentally harms humans? Doctor's expression softened slightly. Accidents happen. We understand this. But deliberate attacks on human civilians will result in your world being turned to dust. The third protocol appeared. Any species that approaches humanity peacefully will be welcomed as equals. We offer trade, technology sharing, and mutual defense agreements to all who come in friendship. This caused excited chittering among many of the aliens, the snake-like being spoke first. You would share technology with us, even after what the hegemony did. The hegemony made their choice, Doctor explained. You can make a different choice. We judge species by their actions, not by what others have done. Over the next hour, she explained the full system humanity had created. Peaceful species would be protected and helped. Aggressive species would be watched carefully. Any species that tried to build an empire through conquest would be stopped before they could harm innocent people. General Stone appeared on a smaller screen from Earth. We have established the Human Defense Corps across all former hegemony worlds. Our quantum weapons are hidden in every star system. Any species that starts a war will find themselves fighting Earth itself. When the transmission ended, Doctor walked to the observation deck of the ship. Below, the empty cities of Prime stretched to the horizon. Beautiful crystal towers that would never again house the beings who built them. Captain Torres joined her. Do you ever regret it, Doctor, what we did to them? Doctor thought about the question for a long time. I regret that it was necessary, she said finally. I regret that they forced us to become killers on such a scale, but I do not regret protecting humanity. She activated her personal communicator and called Earth. Lisa, how is the memorial project progressing? Lisa Park appeared on the small screen, looking older but more peaceful than she had during the war. All 47 worlds are being converted as planned. Prime will become a museum showing the dangers of empire building. Central will be a research station studying peaceful coexistence. The others will serve similar educational purposes. Doctor nodded. And the children, how are they adapting to the new reality? Better than we expected, Lisa replied. They understand why we had to fight. They also understand the responsibility that comes with our power. The new schools teach both quantum physics and peace studies. This was important. Humanity now possessed weapons that could destroy any species in the galaxy within minutes. Every human child had to learn not just how to build such weapons, but when they should never be used. Doctor ended the call and returned to watching the empty world below. The hegemony had ruled through fear and violence for over 1,000,000 years. In 1 hour, humanity had ended their reign forever. But the cost had been enormous. Earth's population now carried the psychological weight of knowing they had committed genocide. Support groups met in every city to help people cope with what they had done. Philosophers worked day and night to help humanity understand the moral implications of their actions. Some humans had broken under the stress. They wandered the streets muttering about the billions of aliens they had killed. Others became obsessed with finding new enemies to destroy, convinced that only through constant war could humanity stay safe. Most people simply tried to live normal lives, while carrying the knowledge that their species was now the galaxy's apex predator. Captain Torres broke the silence. "Doctor, we're receiving a priority message from Earth. A new species has made contact. They say they want to discuss peaceful trade relations." Doctor smiled for the first time in months. "Set course for Earth. Let's go welcome our new neighbors." As the ship prepared to leave, she took one last look at Prime. The planet would serve as a permanent reminder of what happened when species chose conquest over cooperation. In the ship's memorial room, a hologram of Commander played her final message on repeat. New crew members watched it every day to remember why humanity had been forced to become what they were. "Remember what you see here today. Remember that we tried to be peaceful. Remember that they chose this. Remember us and make them pay." Humanity had kept their promise to the dead. They had made the hegemony pay with their existence. Now came the harder task of making sure such a war never happened again. The New Horizon II jumped to hyperspace, carrying Doctor back to Earth. Behind them, 47 empty worlds drifted silently around their suns, monuments to the simple truth that humanity had learned in the hardest way possible. Sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to become very, very good at war. In the galaxy beyond, hundreds of species watched the former hegemony territory with careful eyes. They had learned the most important lesson in galactic history: humans were not to be trifled with. Earth had become the galaxy's immune system against tyranny, and they were very, very effective at their job.